In the gleaming heights of a corporate tower, Arthur meticulously cleaned windows while a heated discussion in French echoed from the boardroom. At 45, his weathered hands had spent decades making glass disappear into pristine transparency, allowing him to witness the intricate dance of corporate leadership from the outside looking in. The elderly CEO, Mr. Richard, sat at the head of the mahogany table, his silver hair catching the morning light. Arthur's life story was written in the calluses of his hands. Born to immigrant parents, he had taught himself French through audiobooks during lunch breaks, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the corporate world he cleaned for. Each evening, he returned home to care for his aging mother, channeling her wisdom about human nature into his observations of business culture. The Asian market expansion will require significant restructuring, declared Marcus, the youngest executive, spreading documents across the table with the brash confidence of inexperience. Several others nodded, their designer suits rustling with self-importance. Arthur's hand froze mid-wipe. Their workplace innovation strategy contained a critical flaw, one that would devastate thousands of employees and ultimately harm the company's ethical business practices. Years of observing corporate culture from his unique vantage point had given him insights few possessed. Sarah, the chief innovation officer, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Her expression suggested she saw the problems too, but hesitated to challenge the group's momentum. The room crackled with tension as discussions about employee empowerment rang hollow against their proposed direction. Arthur's heart pounded against his ribs as he wrestled with his conscience. Speaking up could end his career, demolish his ability to care for his mother, and shatter the professional growth he dreamed of for himself. But remaining silent would betray everything he believed about integrity and business values. Drawing a deep breath, he gently knocked on the window. The room fell silent as 12 pairs of eyes turned to him. "Mr." Richard raised an eyebrow while Marcus's face flushed with indignation at the interruption. "Excuse me," Arthur said in flawless French, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I couldn't help but overhear your strategy for professional growth in the Asian market. There's a crucial factor you might want to consider." The silence deepened. Marcus started to stand, hand reaching for the phone to call security. But Mr. Richard raised his hand, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "Continue," he said, demonstrating the visionary leadership that had made him legendary. Sarah leaned forward, relief flickering across her face as Arthur explained how their plan overlooked crucial cultural nuances he'd learned from years of cleaning the windows of the International Relations Department. His strategic leadership insight was clear, precise, and undeniable. Mr. Richards' expression transformed from surprise to genuine interest, while other executives shifted from dismissiveness to reluctant respect. Marcus sank back into his chair, his earlier confidence deflating. This moment would become a turning point in the company's approach to workplace collaboration and business evolution. The mahogany-paneled boardroom tensed with an electric silence as Arthur stepped through the door, his window-cleaning equipment left outside. "This is unprecedented," Marcus sputtered in English, his face flushing deeper. "Security should remove this window washer immediately." His words dripped with disdain, revealing the stark contrast between the company's stated commitment to workplace collaboration and its living reality. "Mr." Richard raised his weathered hand again, his eyes sharp with professional empowerment. "Let him speak. Innovation comes from unexpected places." The elderly CEO's words carried the weight of decades of strategic leadership. Silencing the murmurs of protest around the table, Arthur straightened his simple uniform, his dignity unwavering. "Your current strategy overlooks a crucial market segment," he began, his voice clear and confident. "While focusing on luxury developments, you're missing an opportunity for ethical business practices that could transform communities and generate sustainable growth." Sarah leaned forward, her corporate ethics training recognizing the validity of his words. "What exactly do you mean?" she asked, ignoring Marcus's scoff of derision. "For 5 years, I've watched families in working-class neighborhoods struggle with basic services," Arthur explained, drawing from his personal experiences. "They represent an untapped market for affordable, quality products. Your business evolution should include them, not bypass them." The room crackled with tension as Arthur outlined his vision for inclusive workplace strategies. He described how the company's resources could be redirected to serve both profit and purpose. his words painting a picture of visionary leadership that left even the skeptics thoughtful. Mr. Richard's eyes sparkled with recognition of genuine leadership transformation. "You speak from experience," he observed, studying Arthur with newfound respect. "Tell me more about your background in business mentoring." "I don't have formal training," Arthur admitted, standing straighter. "But I've spent years observing corporate strategy from these windows. I've seen which decisions led to positive change and which ones failed. I've studied your competitors' mistakes and your company's successes." Marcus interrupted, his voice sharp with challenge. "This is absurd. We can't take business advice from a window cleaner. Where's your MBA? Your credentials in organizational change?" "Sometimes," Mr. Richard interjected, "the most valuable insights come from those who see us when we think no one is watching." He turned to Arthur. "Continue. Tell us more about your ideas for workplace transformation." Arthur unveiled his comprehensive understanding of the market, suggesting innovative approaches to professional growth that balanced profit with social responsibility. His proposals for employee empowerment and community impact left the room in stunned silence. Sarah began taking notes, her professional expertise recognizing the potential in Arthur's suggestions. Even some of Marcus's allies shifted uncomfortably, their earlier dismissiveness giving way to reluctant consideration. "Your perspective on business values is unexpected," Mr. Richard said finally, his tone warm with approval. "And precisely what this company needs for true corporate change." The meeting room buzzed with a new energy as Arthur's words sank in. His audacity had shattered the invisible barrier between corporate leadership and those they considered beneath their notice, creating a moment of genuine strategic leadership that would reshape the company's future. Mr. Richard rose from his chair, silencing the murmurs with his commanding presence. "Arthur, you mentioned community impact. Elaborate on how our current strategy might affect working families." His eyes held a glimmer of recognition, seeing beyond the window cleaner's uniform to the strategic mind beneath. 2 hours into what should have been a brief interruption, the boardroom had transformed. Expensive suit jackets draped over chairs, coffee cups multiplied, and flip charts filled with Arthur's innovative proposals for workplace transformation covered the walls. "Your insight into market demographics is remarkable," Sarah commented, studying the numbers Arthur had presented. Her earlier professional courtesy had evolved into genuine respect for his business mentoring potential. "But implementing these changes would require a complete organizational change in our approach." Marcus, now subdued but still skeptical, tapped his pen against the polished table. "The board won't easily accept such radical corporate change from a—" He paused, choosing his words carefully under Mr. Richard's watchful gaze. "Non-traditional source." "I learned business values from the ground up," Arthur responded, his voice steady. "While cleaning windows, I've watched countless meetings, studied every presentation, observed leadership growth and failure. I saw which strategies brought positive change and which led to disaster." Mr. Richard nodded thoughtfully, his decades of visionary leadership allowing him to recognize authentic insight. "Tell me, Arthur, about your thoughts on our Asian market approach. You mentioned cultural considerations earlier." Arthur moved to the whiteboard, his movements precise despite his unfamiliarity with presenting to millionaire executives. He outlined a comprehensive strategy for ethical business practices that would respect local traditions while driving corporate leadership innovation. "The key is understanding that leadership transformation isn't just about profit margins," Arthur explained, drawing from his years of silent observation. "It's about creating an inclusive workplace that resonates with local communities while maintaining global standards." Sarah's eyes widened at his detailed knowledge of international markets. "How did you acquire such deep understanding of Asian business culture?" she asked, genuinely curious about his professional growth journey. "My mother runs a small restaurant in the immigrant district," Arthur revealed, his voice softening with pride. "I've watched her build relationships with suppliers and customers from every background. She taught me that true business evolution comes from understanding people, not just numbers." Mr. Richard stood suddenly, causing Marcus to jump slightly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're witnessing something extraordinary." He turned to Arthur, his expression serious. "Would you consider joining our strategic planning team as a special advisor?" The room erupted in a mixture of gasps and protests. Marcus's face turned an alarming shade of red, but Sarah beamed with approval. "With all due respect, sir," Arthur replied, straightening his uniform. "I would need to maintain my current position as well. My mother depends on my income, and honestly, I've learned more about corporate strategy from these windows than most learn in business school." Mr. Richard's weathered face broke into a warm smile. "Your integrity only confirms my decision. We'll arrange a flexible schedule that allows you to continue both roles. Your unique perspective on workplace ethics and employee empowerment is exactly what this company needs." The elderly CEO turned to address the room. Sometimes the most profound business mentoring comes from unexpected sources. Arthur has demonstrated that leadership lessons surround us if we're humble enough to listen. As the sun set behind the towering skyscrapers, casting long shadows across the boardroom, Arthur stood at the threshold of transformation. His years of silent observation had culminated in this moment of professional empowerment, proving that true corporate leadership recognizes wisdom regardless of its source. In Mr. Richard's private office, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, Arthur sat across from the elderly CEO, their reflection ghosting against the evening skyline. The space radiated corporate leadership through its understated luxury, yet felt warm with decades of business mentoring wisdom. "Tell me your story, Arthur," Mr. Richard prompted, pouring tea into delicate cups. "There's more beneath the surface than a window cleaner who speaks perfect French." Arthur's fingers traced the cup's rim. 10 years ago, I owned a small technology startup." His eyes clouded with memory. "Then my father fell ill. Cancer, the medical bills." He trailed off, the weight of past decisions heavy in his voice. "You chose family over business," Mr. Richard observed, recognition flickering in his eyes. The elderly millionaire leaned forward, workplace ethics and professional empowerment suddenly personified in his gentle demeanor. "I sold everything, piece by piece," Arthur continued. "The patents, the equipment, even my car. But it wasn't enough. When Dad passed, Mom fell into depression. She needed me more than my dreams did." His voice carried no bitterness, only quiet strategic leadership in the face of personal crisis. "Mr. Richard nodded, understanding deepening. "Yet you never stopped learning, did you? Even while cleaning windows, you were studying business evolution, analyzing corporate strategy. The windows became my business school." Arthur smiled slightly. "I watched presentations about organizational change, studied body language during negotiations, learned French from international calls. Every meeting was a lesson in positive change or cautionary tale." Sarah knocked and entered, carrying market analysis reports. "Your initial proposals are generating buzz," she reported, setting down the documents. "The A-team is particularly interested in your cultural integration strategies." Mr. Richard gestured to the reports. "You see, Arthur, your understanding of ethical business transcends traditional credentials. What would you do with a second chance at leadership transformation?" Arthur straightened, years of pent-up workplace innovation flowing forth. He outlined vision after vision. Sustainable product lines for working communities, employee empowerment programs that bridged cultural gaps, corporate mentorship initiatives that crossed socio-economic boundaries. "The future of business values lies in inclusion," Arthur explained, his passion for professional growth evident. "Not just market inclusion, but human inclusion. Every janitor could be a hidden strategist. Every cafeteria worker an untapped visionary." Mr. Richard's eyes sparkled with recognition of kindred corporate ethics. "I started as a mailroom clerk," he revealed. "Most people forget that. They see the elderly millionaire CEO, not the immigrant son who learned business by watching and listening." Sarah's expression softened with understanding. "That's why you let him speak in the meeting. You saw yourself in him." "I saw potential," Mr. Richard corrected. "Arthur, I'm offering you more than a consulting position. I want you to lead our new Strategic Initiatives division, focusing on inclusive workplace development and ethical leadership." Arthur's breath caught. "But Marcus and the others will learn from your example," Mr. Richard finished firmly. "True professional empowerment means recognizing talent wherever it appears. Besides," he smiled warmly, You've already proven you can handle corporate politics while balancing on a window ledge. The setting sun painted the office in amber hues, highlighting the moment when Arthur's past and future merged. His mother's restaurant wouldn't need to struggle anymore, and his father's sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. A new chapter of business mentoring and positive change beckoned. 3 weeks after the window cleaning incident, Arthur stood before the executive board in a perfectly tailored suit. His presentation materials organized with military precision. The boardroom buzzed with anticipation. Corporate culture on the cusp of transformation. Our strength lies in our diversity, Arthur began, his voice carrying the weight of personal experience. Each employee, from maintenance to management, brings unique insights into workplace innovation. His eyes met Marcus's challenging stare, unwavering in their conviction. Charts and graphs illuminated the screens as Arthur unveiled his comprehensive plan for organizational change. By implementing cross-departmental mentorship programs, we tap into hidden talents. The cafeteria supervisor who speaks 5 languages becomes our cultural consultant. The maintenance worker with engineering experience joins product development teams. Sarah nodded enthusiastically, while other executives leaned forward, captured by the practical brilliance of employee empowerment at every level. Even Marcus's skepticism seemed to crack under the weight of undeniable potential. But the real professional growth happens here, Arthur continued, revealing projections that showed remarkable market penetration in underserved communities. By understanding the needs of working families, we create products that serve purpose beyond profit. This isn't just business evolution, it's social transformation through ethical leadership. Mr. Richard watched proudly as his protege demonstrated mastery of corporate strategy. Arthur's program for career development transcended traditional boundaries, creating pathways from entry-level positions to executive roles based on merit and innovation rather than credentials alone. The numbers speak for themselves, Arthur concluded, presenting financial projections that showed substantial growth through inclusive workplace practices. By investing in our people, we invest in our future. This is how we achieve true leadership transformation. The boardroom erupted in applause, led by Mr. Richard himself. Even Marcus joined, albeit reluctantly, as the wisdom of Arthur's vision became undeniable. The corporate mentorship between the elderly millionaire CEO and the former window cleaner had birthed a revolutionary approach to business values later that evening in his mother's restaurant. Arthur shared the news of his success. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged him, whispering, "Your father would be so proud." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Help us grow our community of business transformation enthusiasts.